Hello, and welcome to the SharePoint Framework and JavaScript Special Interest Group Biweekly Sync. It is March 11th, 2021. Another year is flying by. I'm your host for this call, Patrick Rodgers. We have another great agenda for you this week. Latest updates around the SharePoint Framework, patterns and practices, updates across our various program offerings, new community samples, picture time with Together Mode, and of course, demos. And 3 great demos for you today, with Chandani Prajapati and David Warner talking about DataTable web part, Alberto Gutierrez Perez talking about building list search web parts, and Frederick Thorold using a web part control which sites have been granted permissions in Azure AD application. 3 great demos again as usual, so let's get through it so we can get to the demos. We often get asked about opportunities to participate in PnP SPFx and the JS this call in particular, so always encourage anybody out there. I know all of you are doing great work for your customers and your companies. Would love for you to be able to demo that work to us if you can. Again, of course, make sure it's appropriate to demo and that it's something you can show publicly, but we would love to invite you to demo on the call. So please reach out to myself or Vesa, and we will go ahead and get you set up for a demo slot. It might not be in the immediately next call coming up, but it will be in a call just as soon as we can get you booked. Sometimes they're booked out a couple weeks. We always welcome contributions on GitHub. Those can take the form of reporting issues, submitting pull requests, or helping other folks with issues and questions they have where you might happen to know the answer already. And as always, we want to take feedback on all the things we're doing across the Patterns and Practices program. So how are all of our calls? How are our documentation? Where can we help? Positive feedback is okay too, of course, because if we're doing something fun that you enjoy, we'd love to know. So perhaps we can do a little bit more of that or highlight that as we go. I would just also say, in terms of feedback, PnPjs, we've just opened the V3 feedback kind of discussion period. So Julie will talk about that more in a little bit, but absolutely encourage you to provide your feedback there. So links, how do you find stuff? Microsoft 365 developer videos, ak.msm365 dev YouTube. That's going to be developer focused videos. Might be single videos or series focused on different things around, say, authentication, creating a SharePoint framework solution, or more complicated, multi-video series topics as well. Definitely check those out. M365 PnP-videos is all of our recordings from the various community calls. So those calls are these SIG calls, the monthly community call, and other calls that we might have, as well as, for example, like the sharing is caring sessions, I believe are there, which I hopefully didn't just lie to everybody. As well, we have bunches of great open source communities that we encourage you to join into. SharePoint, PnP, Office Dev, and Microsoft Graph all have great resources, great learnings, and great, obviously, code and libraries and samples and things to use, but encourage you to get involved in the organizations and communities that you are interested in. So across all of those are welcoming of your feedback, welcoming of your pull requests and contributions. So encourage you to check those out. We, of course, as well have sample galleries. So web parts, extensions, list formatting, and Teams samples. Check out those. That's a great place to start for a new project to see how to get going. I often check those out for ideas on how to solve various problems for people. So wonderful resource there, and thank you to everybody that's contributed samples over the years. And if that was all a lot to remember, ak.ms/m365pnp will get you all of the links and information about all of the patterns and practices stuff going on in one location. So ak.ms/m365pnp. And this is Sharing is Caring. So David Warner is up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Patrick. Well, friends, it's important to know that as a community, we are open source and inclusive. But we understand that there are times when you want to use the resources or contribute back to the community through patterns and practices. There are hurdles that you may experience, such as what is GitHub? How do I submit information? How do I use things like NVM and Node and SPFx tools? Well, the Sharing is Caring initiative is here to provide you hands-on guidance. Now, what does that mean? It means you can join sessions, small, intimate, not recorded sessions, so it's a safe space to ask questions and be open and communicative. We have a broad spectrum of topics: first-time contributor, community docs, first-time presenter, more than code with VS Code, and even more growing. Our team has grown recently with Emily Mancini and April Dunham, so you can see there'll be soon Power Platform. We're working with Louisa Fries as well for some of the more first-time presenter, and more than code of VS Code. So we invite you to come join one of the sessions. And we also have office hours, which gives you the opportunity to schedule some one-on-one time if you just have some very specific questions. So please, aka.ms/sharing is caring. It's completely free, and we'd love to see you there. Patrick, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you for that, David. Really great stuff going on there. And if you've ever wondered how to get started or have been a little nervous about maybe how to get involved in GitHub, submit your first pull request. Sharing is caring sessions are fantastic for that. We also
I can quickly talk on that. So this is now in preview, but we've been working together with our Microsoft Teams friends on coming up with a really cool setup, which is the Microsoft 365 Extensibility lookbook gallery. And this is really intended to answer the question, hey, what are my options to do extensibility in Microsoft 365? So we basically call out the different technical solutions, technical extensibility options in Microsoft Teams, in Office, in SharePoint, in OneDrive, or in Power Apps side. And then we also actually present different kind of scenarios. So this is right now, we're still evolving the content. We're adding new samples, references, links to this location, but you might want to check it out and share some feedback in the social media, in LinkedIn or in Twitter or in wherever, or during this course in the chat. So that would be really, really awesome to understand what kind of improvements you would like to see in here. Like mentioned, it's intended to be a location where you can go and consider getting ideas and then understand what are the extensibility options, what you can build in Microsoft 365. And that's about it. Patrick, I'm trying to throw into you, and then I'm going to take it.
All right. Well, we're going to stay with Vesa and go to the SharePoint Framework update. So Vesa, take it away.
Cool. Before we go to the actual update on the 112, just a reminder, Viva Connections is coming up relatively fast in this spring. So we are preparing for this one. And basically, Viva Connections gives you the option of building SharePoint Framework extensibility inside of the Microsoft Teams and surfacing your portals and communication sites natively within the Microsoft Teams. And this is an improved version of the things what is available right now. It's heading to first level of preview use. It's actually quite fast. I can say weeks rather than months, which is really, really cool. And extensibility model will be SharePoint Framework. Quick update on 112. I know that people are getting super impatient related on this one. Now we're looking into getting it out within a matter of days. We were already planning to get it out quite a few times, actually, but then we found issues and then we needed to delay the release. So this is always we don't want to release something if we run into any regression. We want to make sure that all of the basic issues have been sorted out properly and we have a proper documentation in place. But now we're looking into getting it out potentially in maybe in hours rather than days, but I can't promise an exact date still, but coming soon. And then 113 is coming out still this spring, and 114 is actually coming out this spring as well. So we will have multiple versions coming before end of June and multiple versions coming in autumn as well. But that's a quick update on the SPFx side.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Vesa. And we'll now go to the PnPjs Client-Side Library with Julie.
Hey, thank you, Patrick. Okay, so first, wanted to just do a quick shout out that our February numbers were amazing. 23,000 plus tenants using the PnPjs library with over 10 billion requests in a month. We're all pretty wow, this is awesome. So thank you to everyone who's using our library and making it such a success. We're really thrilled. Version 2.3.0 is scheduled for March 12th, which happens to be tomorrow. And so we are ready to get out that new release tomorrow. We have a bunch of fixtures and enhancements coming. So, keep an eye out for that tomorrow and keep your feedback coming. As Patrick alluded to earlier, we have posted our V3 issues and discussion issues in the repo. Issue 1636 is an overview of our V3 plan. So that issue you should go to first. You read through that and it sort of outlines all the things that we're thinking about. And then there's a link for each one of the major topics that links to a discussion in a discussion area where you can go and submit some comments, ask questions, review our thinking, just, help us firm up those plans and make sure that they're exactly what the community needs. And even if you have some issues that don't fit into that, we have a place for you to put ideas and thoughts about things that don't fit into our plan. So definitely go check out issue 1636, check out those plans, and please give us your feedback. We obviously want to continue to make this library work for the community, and to do that, we need feedback from the community. So please absolutely go and check that out. Even if it's just to say, yes, this sounds great, this is exactly what I think could help us, that's helpful too, just to know that we're resonating. As usual, submit any of your issues into the issue list, and follow M365 PnPjs on Twitter for all our updates. Okay, that's all I have. Back to you, Patrick.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Julie, for those updates on PnPjs. Now we're going to go to the CLI. So new beta 3.7 is out with remote development container in code spaces, which if you haven't checked out code spaces, very cool capability there. Improved managing SharePoint pages and retrieving app permissions for SharePoint sites and more. Bunch of new sample scripts as well. So very cool to check those out and see the samples grow. So great learning resource as well for the CLI. And then npm install-g at pnp/CLI-Microsoft 365 at next will get you always the latest beta version out of npm, and that is a great way to check out all those new features, and available natively in the Azure Cloud Shell now, so you can use the CLI for Microsoft 365 right there in the Azure Cloud Shell, which is also super amazing capability to see that there, and amazing to see the continued growth through community contributions for the CLI. So fantastic stuff, everyone, and thank you for all the work on the CLI. Next up is SPFx Reusable Components. React Controls 2.5.0 is now available. Bunch of new controls there. A tree view, list item picker. List item picker also has two new features: optional support for site pages, support for calculated columns, folder explorer, and then various other bug fixes and improvements, of course, as well. And the property controls, which are designed to be used in the edit pane of your SharePoint Framework web parts, are now 2.4.0 and have some updates as well around the property field editor, property field collection data, support for nested web part properties, field site picker, and a pane property editor supporting dynamic data now. Very excited to see that. Thank you as well to all the community contributors for the reusable controls, and excited to see that continue to grow. So thank you to everybody there. And now the community yeoman generator is now at 1.16.0. Angular 11 is now supported in this version. Source maps for Angular. Chandani Prajapati is responsible for the Angular updates there, and I believe that's the same person doing the demo here just in a little bit. So excited to see that, although I don't know that the demo is on the Angular 11 stuff. Fluent UI Fabric 7, PnP controls have been updated, PnPjs has been updated, Vue.js, as well as other updates to things. Still looking at upgraded improvements for Vue.js and Babylon.js. If you are interested in those things, certainly encourage you to jump in and contribute here. All of our projects absolutely welcome your contributions. And Modern Search, we have building modern search experiences with flexible web parts. So this is a set of web parts that allows you to compose a search landing page, search hub, however you want to describe it, and ak.ms/PnP search will get you all the details and get you started there. But this allows you to build a modern, extensible search experience for your users. And 3.18.0 is released March 9th. So that's the latest production release, so to speak. And then 4.1 is in progress and should be released very soon. And then the SPFx samples with Hugo.
Thank you, Patrick. So the PnP sample repositories are places where the community are creating samples to share with everyone. And we really want this to become the first place that you go when you're starting a new task with SPFx solutions. So we have extensions and we have web parts. On the extension side, there are no new extensions over the last 2 weeks. But on the web part side, we have an update to the DataTable web part by Chandani Prajapati, who will be demoing it today. She actually fixed some issues with the number fields. Daraman Mujahid has updated the feedback web part, where he's added a fix for undefined item error, as well as a fix to the search directory web part, where we can search people by feature. Frederick Toreld, who will actually be demoing today, I believe, will be demoing the site selected admin. So that's a new web part where he's actually made some changes to using functional components instead of the previous version of the solution. And Russell Gove has updated the security grid, where he's added in the manifest a web API permission request to make it easier for everyone to deploy the solution. I also want to point out that all the samples are tested, and they are also scanned for exploits when they're checked into the source control. And so over the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot of updates for security vulnerabilities. So if you have updated any of the web parts or tested any of the web parts, I recommend you go take a look at the updated web parts. That's it for me. Back to you, Patrick.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for those updates, and thank you to everybody that continues to contribute samples and update samples. It really is one of the most valuable resources for the community that is out there. So thank you to all of you. Now we have optional picture time.
Let me share my screen so we can actually see what we're capturing. Again, a typical setup. I'm not going to actually enable my video because I want someone else to get on the screen. So let me flip on the together mode. Yes, it works. Awesome. And I'm going to flip the scene so we're not always on the same scene. Let's do the green one today because the teacher one doesn't really feel that good. Anything else? No. The green one is good. Let's flip that. There we go. Now we're looking more relaxed, right? I think we're hitting the limit of 50 people. I'm going to actually do a quick recording. I'm going to do an ad hoc recording with Camtasia here at the same time. It's going to get to the video as well, but just in case. And let's do some waving, everybody. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for this is super valuable for seeing the other people in the community in real world. Thank you, everybody. That was a quick run through. Excellent. Thank you.
Fun. So now we are on to the demos. So Chandani Prajapati and David Warner are going to do our first demo of DataTable web part. So very excited to see this. And if you all are ready, I think David was going to be sharing his screen. So take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. Let me share out here. Well, thank you all for joining. We're going to talk about SPFx DataTable web part using PnP Reusable Controls. My name is David Warner. I'm co-presenting with Chandani Prajapati. Would you like to introduce yourself, Chandani?
Yeah, sure. I'm Chandani Prajapati. I am a SharePoint developer. I am a blogger and open source contributor. First of all, thanks to PnP community to give me opportunity to present my demo, and many thanks to Hugo and David to help me to prepare a demo. And yeah, this is my first talk, so I am very excited but a bit nervous. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you. And as mentioned, this is her first demo. In fact, all of our presenters today are first timers, so we look forward to that. And Chandani is coming in through the Sharing is Caring buddy system, so we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. Today, though, we're going to be focusing on the sample that she created. Now, it's a data table sample, and what it does is it takes in information from lists and libraries and renders them in a very nice configurable way that you can drop as a web part. So it provides important features like search and filter, pagination, column selection, column ordering, exportation, alternative row formatting with background colors, and more. So many cool features, and all of them are configurable. So let's go directly to the demo and see how to take advantage of this particular web part. Now, to set the context, what you're looking at is a list that we've created of PnP community contributors. We've got a few items included here based on their home country, favorite sport, and favorite season. Now, we could always, of course, use list formatting for some of this stuff, but we might want to drop it on the web part in an interactive way. So I'll go over to a page and I'll edit that page, and we've already got the web part loaded, so I'll just do a search on DataTable. We see it's here. First thing is we're given the opportunity to configure the web part. So we'll click configure, and we see immediately we're provided with a number of options to configure our web part. First of which, of course, is scoping to the list that we would like to include. The next is selecting the information that we would like to have displayed. So we'll go ahead and include everything, the actual title and or community contributor, favorite sport, season, home country. We're then able to turn on and off sorting. So we're going to be able to sort on sport, in season, we'll include those two. You see that when I hover over sport in season after selecting them, I can sort on them. So that is something that you can include. We can also enable search, so we can define exactly what we want to be included inside of our search. So we can exclude things. If we only want to scope to a certain data piece of our list, we can include that. So once again, we'll include favorite sport and favorite season. As we move to the second page, we've got additional opportunities for configurability. We can enable exportation to CSV or PDF. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And of course, we can do pagination, which is very cool. We see the different row options down here, so we'll take a look at that as well. And we can define the order in which our items are showing up in our data table here. So we can click to move sport up to the beginning, or we can actually drag and drop as well. So if I was to do that, then we'll see that show up. And if I turn off and on pagination, we see that occurs as well. So we see now sport is showing at the beginning. We can also set the colors. So if I wanted to change like the background color, of course, you know me, I'm going to go with a light purple and then perhaps a light orange if I wanted to get a little bit more branded here with my website. So we have a lot of configurability. Now you may be thinking this isn't matching exactly to the brand that we typically see within SharePoint out of the box. And that is something that Chandani is working on. We're going to be setting this up to be more comparable to the look and feel of standard SharePoint, so it looks a little bit more natural. But a lot of very powerful features, so I will just republish here, and we'll take a look at how some of that works. So now we had turned on the ability to sort by season. So we can see I can now sort by season, or I can sort by sport, for example. So when we look at season, we look at Hugo. His favorite season is popcorn seasoning. So he said his favorite sport is cycling. And he said that means cycling on and off his computer. But we're able to search, right? So I can say popcorn, and now I'm able to see that. And it filters to just that item. I can also include the rows, right? So if I include 10, then we've got 6 total items. So if I just wanted to paginate to the 6th, I can do that. Now I can also export via PDF. So I'm going to click on that and open up, and we'll see everything is included there for us, right? So everything that we included. But what's really cool is if I just said, I only want to see popcorn, or I only want to see the matches for pop, which is Hugo's popcorn favorite season, and then I export again, then the exportation only includes the items that were actually filtered. So that's a pretty cool feature too, because if you're only looking to include the information that matches your search, then you're able to do that. Alternatively, if I went to all and included all and exported, then we do get all of the items. We see all 6 items are showing up there. So Chandani has done a fantastic job here. The capabilities here are open to extensibility, so there's always options to include additional features, and because it is open source. So I'm going to go back to the slides, and we're going to hand the mic over to Chandani to walk us through the code. Chandani?
Yeah, sure. So let's start with the folder structure of our React data table. So first one is the React data table webpath.ts file. So in this file, I have added all the configuration for the webpath property. And from here, we will pass the property to our iProps to render the data in the main component. Now, next file is the React data table.tsx. So this is the main parent component, so in which we will render our data. And next one is the service file. So service file, in this service file, I have used the PnPjs for all the API communication, like the get fields, get list items, and all. Then next one is the common folder. So in a common folder, there are 3 child components. So I have modularized the code in the different folder. So first one is the export list item to CSV. Second one is export list item to PDF. And third one is the pagination. Next is React data table webpath.ts file. So yeah, first method is get property pen configuration. So in this method, I have divided all the property pen configuration in different groups, like a list configuration, and another one is the searching and sorting configuration, and like advanced features and all. So first one is the list configuration. So in list configuration, there are 3 properties. Well, first one is webpath title, second one is the list picker, and third one is the fields for the particular list. So for React DataTable webpart.ts render method. So in render method, I have passed all the properties, and I have called get selected list fields. So in this method, I am getting all the fields of the selected list. Now React DataTable webpart.tsx file. So in this first one is the component did mount method. So this method will call when our web part will render. So in this I have called the get selected list item method. So in get selected list item method, I am calling a service to get the list item based on selection of list and fields. And after that, I have mapped this data in the table container format which I need for that. And then I have set this data in the state. And second one is the render method. Yeah. So in this is the main part of our component. So in this method, our web part will be rendered. So first one is the placeholder. So when initially we will add our web part, it will show the placeholder to edit the property pane configuration. So after property pane configuration, second one is the enable download as CSV component. So this is the child component, and here all are the configurable. If user want to show this button enable download as CSV, then user have to turn on from the property configuration. And here I have passed all the properties are dynamic. So same feature as a download as PDF. And yeah, main part is a table container. Here it is divided into three parts. First one is table heading, second one is table body, and third one is table pagination. So in table heading, data will be short. The data will be coming from the selection of fields, and here also have a sorting functionality. If user will select from property pane configuration, if he needs sorting, and for the particular field, then sorting icon will show visible on the particular fields. Then table body. In table body, all the data will render from the list items. And yeah, here one background color property, and it is dependent on our property pane configuration of the odd color and even color. So it will be set based on this, based on that. And third one is the pagination. So in table footer, there is a pagination component, and this pagination component will be rendered in the table footer. So that's all from my side. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Chandani. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed that. We wanted to highlight, though, that this was an opportunity for Chandani. She was nervous. She didn't want to do it by herself in terms of the presentation. But this is a feature that's available via Sharing is Caring, the buddy system. So we invite everyone to take advantage. We would love to see your demos. We would love to see you present. And sometimes it's a little easier to do when you're able to present with someone that you're comfortable with. So please take advantage of this. We would love to help you be more involved if that's something you would like to do. Other than that, we'd like to thank you. The link is here available. All the SPFx samples, the SPFx React Controls, and the specific link to the sample is available there. We'll put it in the chat. Patrick, back to you.
Great stuff. Very cool, clean implementation there, and great job presenting as well. So Alberto Gutierrez Perez, I believe you are up next. If you want to go ahead and take over the presentation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alberto Gutierrez. I'm a Microsoft 365 and SharePoint developer. Here is my contact information, my Twitter and my GitHub account, and I'm going to talk to you about the list search web part. This web part allows the user to merge information from different sites and different libraries and display the whole information only in one web part. The perfect example for this web part is when a user wants to display different reports for different years and the information are saved in different sites or lists. I'm going to spend the whole time on the demo part. I'm not going to show any code because it's a large demo, but I'm going to talk about the libraries and the controls I use to create the web part. In this example, I'm going to merge information from one list and from one library and see that information in the web part. Here you can see is the default library, and there are files and the author field, and here is a custom list with custom fields and custom user field name user. And here is the web part. Okay, here's the web part, and you can see here all of the documents. I'm going to configure the web part to match that user field information and display here. There are 4 pages of configuration in this web part. The last one is only for information, so there are 3 pages of configuration. The first step is you have to select the sites to retrieve the information. Here is 2 sites, but you can select as many as you want. The second step is select the lists. You can here see the previous sites that we have selected, and if you select the site, the list is out. Is shown only the list of that site. You can insert the view title or insert a custom query to that list. Okay, the next step is to configure the columns of the web part. So you have default columns like file icon, list title, or site information. Here in site information, you can choose ID, title, or URL information to show, and you can add as many fields as you want. In this case, I'm going to add a user field. And here in this section, you have to configure the mapping information. In this case, this will be the site, the document library, and here you can see the fields of the library. All of the REST API calls are made by PnPjs functionality. And here, as you can see here, the name field author, and it's going to be mapped to the user field in the table. As you can see here, you can select the render type of the field. The web part detects the type of the field and change the render type to allow the user to select different renders. So here, author, the user, and the other list all field types. I'm going to go down, user field, and user. If I apply the change, you can see here, from the document library, it's always my user, the author. If I go to the next page and see the list, you can see here the custom field. There are more configuration. You can hide, show the item count, customize the message, set an item limit to show in the table, enable disable pagination, group elements. If you enable group elements, you can have to select a column to group the elements. For example, here, list name, as you can see here, group by the list. And on click properties, I think is the most useful functionality. In this section, you can configure the behavior of the web part when the user clicks on one item. You can enable or disable the event, select the event 1 click or 2 clicks, and select the behavior of the web part. I'm going to show you these options in a few moments, so wait 1 or 2 minutes. Here right now, it displays the same information that are shown in the table, displays a model window with that information. And the last properties are filter properties. You can enable, disable the general filter. You can set a default search. You can enable with text or dynamic data. You can connect this web part to other web part or the page environment to search by that information. You can enable or disable individual column filter and set in the header or the footer. If you apply, you see here, you can filter by each column. And there are some properties about the clear filter like color, text, and like that. And the last functionality is the cache thing. I think is very useful. Is the PnPjs functionality is very easy to use, and you can enable or disable the cache, select local session cache, and the time in minutes to cache the retrieved data. And the last page is only about information. I want to show you the cache functionality. If I reload the page, the web part reloads very quickly because all of the data are catch at my browser. Okay, I'm going to show you the on-click functionality here. In this page, the web part is configured to show different fields depends on the list. If I click here on the documents library item, it only shows 2 fields, the list name and the author, no more fields. But if I click here in the all field list, you can see it's 4 fields. And you can change the render of the fields. I will show you here. I go to on-click properties and select. Okay, You can see here in the documents library, it's only 2 fields. All field types list there are 4 fields, and here okay, change to user and HTML. If I apply documents library items are the same, but in the all field type list, you can see how it changes to the user field and to HTML field. Okay, in the next page, there's the dynamic data functionality. This web part is also the solution. It's very simple web part to show the retrieve data, and this web part connected to display information. Here, if I click the items, you can see how it changes the library, the list ID or the item ID, depends on the item. It's very useful if you can create a custom web part to business logic or some more details. And the last one, this web part allows the user to display document preview. It can be configured to show the preview of the document in a new tab, but in this case, it's a modal preview. If you click here, you can see the preview of the document. It's low, yeah. And it supports all Microsoft type of documents. That's all. You can find the code at that URL, and if you have any question, you can contact with my Twitter account, and thank you.
Very cool. Thank you for that. Another fantastic sample, really something showing off a lot of cool capabilities, especially around dynamic data. So certainly check that out. Really, really neat to see that. And finally, we've got Frederick Thorold. Frederick, if you are ready to go, you could take over the presentation.
Thank you for that. I'm ready. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Today, I will demo my site-selected admin web part. Very much like the previous presenter, not so much code demo necessarily, but focus on functionality. Little bit about myself. Fredrik Thorold, live in Sweden, Västerås, work for Society. I guess I am one of those seasoned SharePoint developers. I've done my fair share of farm solutions and so on and so forth, and still loving it. I'm also recently up to contributing to the various projects, and great fun doing that. So I'm happy to be on that track. My Twitter details, LinkedIn details in there. Happy to spend time with my family and so on and so forth. So a little bit of context then, I guess, for the reason on why I built this. I was very happy, I guess a lot of you were as well, when they announced on February 11th, I believe, exactly 1 month ago, that now they will support specific SharePoint site access via the graph. So basically in the past, it has been accessing SharePoint via the graph, you need to give sort of full access or no access at all. So this was a very much appreciated addition. So I was really happy about that. Well, actually, we can stay over here, because one of the facts stated in this blog post was that initially you need to actually use another AD app to grant the access, and you need to do that sort of from a developer's perspective, which makes sense. I mean, this is an early release, so hopefully it will come with an UI capability where you can manage your sites, but not yet. So I saw this tweet, which kind of triggered me. Like he felt kind of the same way as I guess, that it's a he says that I just wish it didn't require developer support. And I got thinking like, hey, maybe we can build this via an SPFx web part. So that's kind of the background, I guess. And I mean, given the fact that it's really easy to access the graph via SPFx. So that's sort of the background. So with that said, let me do some demo. So I'm gonna open up my browser again. And we can go over here to the Azure AD. I do have an app registration, which is called selected for this purpose. You can see that I have added on the site selected API permission thing here. I should also say it is in preview. So on, let me switch over to Visual Studio. There we go. So I have an console application in here where I am using that app registration called selected, and I'm going to try to get some data from a site called FO. Surprise, surprise. So I haven't done any configuration. So the expected outcome here is that I don't have any access because, again, I only have the site selected, permission granted, which doesn't give you any access per default. So let's press F5. You can minimize that. And you can see that the HTTP code was forbidden. So that's where my web part comes in, I guess. So back over here and to my tenant. And here's my web part installed on the page. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in detail, but first let's go ahead with my sort of scenario that I have going on. So I'm going to quickly move over to this tab, add remove sites to apps. And you can see that here I have some Azure AD apps listed, and I do have my specific app listed as well, selected. So I'm going to highlight that, add app permission. I'm going to copy this very URL to this site because this is the site that I want to connect to via the graph. Pasting in that one, let's go with read. That should be enough. So I'm going to grant that access. Yay, success. And now if we go back over here, we should expect, well, not forbidden, more of a 200 status code. F5. And we do have a OK answer back from that one. So that's kind of the main purpose of the web part, I would say. But again, I'll show you some of the details for it as well. We can actually go into edit mode. And I'll show you one of the key things in here. If I go to edit, you can see that there is a GUID. It's actually shipped with my web part because this one is sort of the identity of this sort of the site selected application scope thing. I have double checked that was the same GUID in at least another tenant than this one. So I guess that this is the same for all the tenants. However, if that is not the case, I made it so you can change it. The web part does have this sort of welcome page, says a little bit of what it can do and so on. Good to know a little bit of that. You can hide that, nothing fancy. And then let's just republish. So the list of apps in here is actually only apps that has the site selected scope on it. So you can see if I go back into here, well, maybe one step further, I do have some other apps registered. So when the web part starts up, it actually fetches a list of more or less all apps, and then it filters on only apps that has the site selected scope on it. And after that, you can go ahead and highlight the app, and when you do, you get two options up here. You can add app permissions, or you can go ahead and clear app permissions. And as you could see when I did the demo, you need to enter a URL to the site because it doesn't necessarily has to be this site. Obviously, you can enter in whichever site you want, and then you just go ahead and press grant. And similarly, if you want to revoke access for some reason, you can go ahead and do that as well. So again, same concept. You just do like this, click remove, and hopefully it will be green like it was there. And you can then also flip over to this tab where you can enter in a site and you can get back the current permissions on that site. So I was a bit lazy in here. I actually just pasted the JSON object, but I do have a specific reason for that as well. So just an empty array here. So let's, I guess I removed a few apps. We can go ahead and add this. dun. So now we have read access. No, I don't want to clear. I want to check. So like so. So I paste kind of the object that you get back from the Graph API. So I guess when you look at the documentation, it says when you go ahead and click Get Site Permission, it says that you should get back what kind of role that you have at the moment, but I don't see that I get that at the moment. But that is kind of one of the reasons that I just had the pure JSON message coming back. So that would have been nice, I guess, to see what kind of access this app currently has to this site. Maybe something that comes later. Right. So I guess that is it for the web part as such. Like I said, I will not jump into that much of code, but somewhere I should have. Yeah, here we go. So fairly simple setup. I mean, not as impressive function-wise as the previous presenters. It's more like it solves a cool problem, I think. But as Hugo mentioned, I just did an update to the project going from class components to function components. I'm not a huge React guy, but it does. It is nice that you don't have to type this all over the place. So that's nice. But I still do have a lot to learn on the React side. But I think actually that I'm gonna cut it for now. Again, focus on functionality, but you can find the code obviously over in GitHub. So thank you for listening, and over to someone else.
Well, that someone else is me. So thank you very much for those demos.
Sure.
Let me get my sharing going back here. Screen 2. There we go. So 3 great demos from Chandani, Alberto, and Frederick. So thank you to all 3 of you. Fantastic stuff. 3 really interesting different solutions today. So encourage folks to check those out, and as well check out the code that powers all of those. Thank you all for attending today's recording. We actually finished up a little bit early. We might have some time for Q&A. I'm unfamiliar with this finishing up early thing here.
Yes.
So next, the recording will be available in about 24 hours. See, I talked really fast at the beginning, and people were like, whoa, he's talking so fast. And here we are with extra time. So recording it available in about 24 hours on our YouTube channels. Follow us on Twitter, Microsoft 365 Dev, M365 PnP. Our next SPFX call will be in 2 weeks on March 25th, and our next general dev call will be in 1 week, next Thursday, March 18th. So look forward to seeing everyone there. And we have a ton of other Microsoft community calls across many, many areas. So I encourage you to attend any or all of these that you might be interested in. Lots of great stuff coming from all of these communities. So, check them all out. I know everybody's time is pressed and valuable, so we appreciate you spending your time with us. And here's some options to check out some other great calls. So everything, of course, available, ak.ms, M365 PnP. I'm out of slides, but we can hang out a little bit, do some Q&A if folks have questions.
That's a good reminder from Luis. Adaptive cart call is happening today in 1 hour. Now that I have all of the audience and people here, so I'm going to have a quick question for the attendees. We're looking into potentially changing a bit our community call structure. And this is coming back on, if you Patrick can go to the previous line. We actually have 11 calls every single month, and that's a lot. And so basically what we're trying to do is figure out, can we combine some of the calls? Can we make it more approachable for people? Can we make it more understandable when the calls is happening, rather than having a one call at 7 a.m. Pacific time, one at 9 a.m. on a 1 week and another week and another week, because it's super not clear when the calls are happening. So the suggestion one option what we are kind of debating internally is that, okay, what if we would do the following? We would actually keep the Thursday as it is, as an open source and a community. Every single Thursday has an open source and community call like we have right now at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So this particular call where we are now, and we would actually just rename that as a community or open source call. And then we would have a one call on every single Tuesday, which is covering selection of those topics. So in the same way as in this Thursday call, we have 3 demo spots and the news, we would actually have Microsoft 365 platform call every single Tuesday, which would consist from a 15-minute introduction and news and all of that stuff, whatever is the latest on from a program manager and PM from a Microsoft perspective, and then 3 demos from the PM perspective, so that everybody would always know that, hey, if you're looking into engineering and PM demos from product group from the Microsoft, that's on Tuesday at, for example, 8 a.m. on Tuesday, every single week. And then we would basically have a selection of things. In one call, we might have adaptive cart, identity and graph, or another one, SharePoint, a graph, and Microsoft Teams, or maybe in one call, we have 2 Microsoft Teams topics and then a SharePoint one, and so on. So in the same way as we're kind of a mix and matching on this Thursday call, especially the other Thursday call is a kind of a mix and matching a lot of the demos. Curious on the ideas and feelings related on that.
Yeah, see, it's tough to answer these questions when you're not ready for them, huh?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of feedback on the chat, exactly. So basically, as a summary, the approach, and this is, again, we're debating on this one. Most likely we'll do a survey publicly in social media and Twitter and in this calls for a few weeks and collecting your input. But it would be just to have a consistency. Every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, there's the product group Microsoft demo and Microsoft call, and then Thursday would be the community and open source call. And the timings would be all the time the same, so you would always know when those calls are happening. That's kind of the idea of this one, rather than once a month have the adaptive call on a one particular Thursday, and then Wednesday the Office add-ins call was yesterday, actually the monthly Office add-ins call on yesterday at 9 a.m. and then SharePoint was on Tuesday, and it gets kind of complicated. And we really want to kind of build this momentum of thinking Microsoft 365 platform rather than am I an Office add-in developer, am I a Teams developer, am I a SharePoint developer, because that's nonsense. We're all part of this cloud and Microsoft 365 together. Sure, we have different skills, but getting that kind of a combined in the engineering side, that's kind of the thinking. Worth of a try at least. Ryan would like to have repeatable, less repeatable intro. Yeah, absolutely makes sense as well. Yeah, it's an understandable request for sure. Maybe a survey would be a great take to feedback. Absolutely. Yeah, we're looking into doing that as well. Yes, thanks, Don, for that one. So the challenge what we're kind of also one of the feedback what we're trying to address this with this is that some people are kind of overwhelmed with all of the calls and all of the options and all of that stuff. So it would be super easy to understand when things are happening, and then obviously sharing the agenda beforehand so we know what are the topics which are going through. But again, advantages and disadvantages in both.
And that, I believe, will be an ongoing discussion, right, Vesa? We're not making any decisions today.
No, we're not making any decisions.
Think about it. Think about it.
Yep, think about it.
There
will be a survey. Absolutely, there will be a survey. Yes, we're looking into having a community survey related on what are the things what people are doing and all of that relatively fast. And as part of that survey, we're going to ask something related on this one as well. Good. I think it's your turn to close up, Patrick.
Oh, okay. We got 3 minutes. I had a question for everybody. How many rabbits are on the PnPjs slide? Huh?
I just added a new one actually today.
I don't know
if you noticed.
Yeah. I did. I know how many rabbits. 42, maybe. Well, anyway, I just want to say thank you all very much for joining us today. We've had another great call. Thank you to the 3 demos today. Again, fantastic to see what folks are doing out there in the community. If you are interested in demoing, please reach out to us. We'll get you scheduled on a call. And remember, if you are a first-time demoer and maybe a little nervous, we have the Buddy program to help you out. So happy to get you hooked up there as well. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk soon. I'm just flummoxed to have all this extra time, so I'm just kind of talking. Anyway, everybody have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.